This is update for December 14, 2022, day 294 of the war, end of the date update. So first, I'm gonna talk a little bit about the strategic issues and items, and then we're gonna switch to Ukraine. So first about Russia, and just very brief mentioning, Russian ruble went down to $64, 64 rubles per US dollar. Yesterday was 63. So as you can see, the situation is definitely becoming sort of difficult for Russia pretty quickly. So again, this is reflection of the financial and economic situation, and a result of inability to export, for example, natural gas, essentially, which is really on the low, and then there's a lot of problems with crude oil. That's so just for the reference, before the war started, Russian ruble was about like in a range between 72, slightly under 80, like let's say 72, 78 rubles per US dollar. So it still has a ways to go, but the point is that the trend has clearly changed, and the pace of the change is accelerating. That's the key point there. Then let's actually switch a little bit, for example, to Germany. And there, Germany is planning to borrow in 2023 540 billion euros. Was it the explanation to deal with energy crisis, which is essentially, I'd say, self-made crisis, right, by the German government, German authorities, and the problem of this is just, it's totally, I would say, insane, because by borrowing money or creating unfunded credit, you're not gonna solve any kind of energy crisis, because you're not gonna create into existence natural gas or crude oil or whatever else, or you're not gonna you're not gonna make energy with the money. So that's a whole problem about this strategy and this approach, and essentially this is what it will do for sure is to increase inflation in Germany. And again, that really means that there is no real strategy or plan how to deal with this, to reverse this failed policies. So this pain will continue. Now let's touch a little bit U.S. The Strategic Petroleum Reserve was based on the reported numbers is at the lowest level since January 1984. So basically, what U.S. government is doing is they basically selling from from SPR to keep prices for crude low. So whatever we're seeing right now, this is this artificial picture of the price of crude oil, because there is significant release of from the SPR in the US that kind of holds prices of crude for now at let's say not low level, but not as high as where they could have been otherwise. But the key point of it is that ability to do that is quickly diminishing, because the size of this SPR is roughly 800 million barrels, and as you can see, it got to less than half of it. So it's just very clear that we're all living on borrowed time, let's put it this way, with respect to crude oil, and the prices may go higher. Well, also, that is dependent. That's why the Federal Reserve is increasing interest rates, which it did today again by 50 basis points. So that's one of the most important events, economic and financial events of the day or of the recent time, is that this really means interest rates are going higher, which should address commodity inflation. However, the problem with all of that is that there's simply not enough production. So we'll see, who wins and at what cost. But what may happen, as I said before, is that essentially, Federal Reserve will win, but by destroying a lot of demand. And that's not just abstract term. It just really means that many people will be unemployed as a result of that. And in many ways, unfortunately, that is probably unavoidable. Now let's switch to Asia, to China, Japan. So let's talk a little bit about Japan. It's actually preparing for potential war with China. So it's what it does. It's modernizing its airports, like sort of commercial airports, on the western part of the country and in the most western islands. One of the islands is as close as 110 kilometers to Taiwan. So they basically investing money into modernize those airports, commercial airports, so that F-35s can land on those airports. Is another very clear sign of preparation for potential war with China. Then U.S. government also slapped like more than 30 Chinese semiconductor manufacturers with another round of sanctions where they cannot get equipment and so on. So just basically expansion of what's being done before. That includes one of the largest Chinese memory chip manufacturer, YMT. So as you can see, U.S. is sort of consistently, trying to, cut off oxygen from the Chinese semiconductor manufacturing industry. Also, ARM, which is pretty big non-US chip designer and also chip manufacturer, said that they will not be exporting its technology anymore to China, basically chip designs. So that is UK based, but obviously this is all coordinated with US, and so that's the China has less and less sort of oxygen in this respect. The Chinese government came up with the statement that this is obviously basically meaning that they are sort of against it. That's not right and all that. That's very clear. They also went to World Trade Organization to dispute all of this, but as everybody can understand that. It's all like it's all of this WTO. All of this is irrelevant in this situation. Now let's switch to Ukraine. So there were relatively small Russian, I wouldn't say missile attacks, but attacks was using Iranian drones, particularly against Kyiv. Unclear what they were targeting. Looks like they were targeting not power distribution network, but some military assets, or what Russian military believes is a military asset, which frequently not really a military asset or target. But that was in terms of the attacks against the sort of Ukrainian military assets. Then now let's actually do walks through the front line. We're gonna do it in a clockwise fashion, starting from the north. Situation along the state border is relatively quiet. There is some exchange of the fire, but it's fairly small. Now let's jump to North Luhansk front line. Things here are somewhat quiet. No large attacks by either side. Yes, there is a lot of action and of smaller size units like a squad type of units and the reconnaissance action, but there were no relatively major attacks by either side here. Now let's move to North Donbass front line. Things here are sort of somewhat similar. No news, no changes here. Wagner mercenaries continuing their attacks. So far, no advances by them reported today. This is just, and they were, for whatever reason, they were fairly quiet in the southern section, which is usually very busy. Now let's move to central Donbass front line. Things here also pretty quiet. The only active area is really just Marinka, where the Russian troops continuing their push, but without really much success there. And then update on this attack against the Velika Novosilka. It's essentially died out. So looks like there won't be any continuation of that attack anymore. So and now let's finish with the Zaporizhya front line. Things here are as always quiet so far, and we'll see. Looks like they probably will remain there for some time. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and until tomorrow. Bye bye.